On the 7th episode of The Breaker Brief, I sit down with Sam Juni, a mom of 3 and all-around badass. We talk about her journey into CrossFit, how she manages to find time for herself in her schedule, and the importance of balance. There's a lot to unpack in this episode. Sam's progress over the last 2 years is the stuff of legend, and is made even more impressive when you hear her story. If you like this episode, please like, comment, and subscribe on our YouTube channel. You can also rate us on Apple Podcasts, and you can also download this episode on Spotify. Okay, guys, we did it. I made it. If you're seeing this, we made it 7 episodes. It's quite a ride. I did cheat and cut the episode with Becky into 2 parts to get through that 6th episode. Everyone told me it wouldn't be possible. Just Mallory, anyways. I'm joined with Sam today. Over the last 6 episodes, we've talked about intensity and training with Mallory. We've talked about the importance of kind of coming to class and doing the warm-up and really scaling appropriately with Kansas. We've talked about some like sleep and some hacks for your training with Brandon, and then Becky and I dove into nutrition. So what we want to talk about now is how people have applied those things. So it's all well and good for Mallory, Kansas, Brandon. Megan talked about posture and stuff as well. I shouted to Megan. Megan and all of us have talked about getting fit and what you guys should do to get fit. But now I kind of want to get into people who've actually taken our advice and have succeeded in getting fitter. Like Sam, you were always fit, but you're way fitter now, in my opinion.
Thanks.
So I'm joined today by Sam. Sam, you have quite a few kids, right? 3?
3.
3 kids. You have a husband.
Yes.
And you still managed to get fit. So we're going to talk about some of the things you've done, some of the things maybe people can get some tips out of that. You're an expert on that now. I just told you are. You're an expert on getting fit while being busy. So we're going to talk about that and talk about some things and just talk about your journey as well, because it's going to resonate with someone. So first, let's get started. Tell us like a 3-sentence backstory, your elevator pitch about you as a person. So name, full name.
Sam Juni.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm from the States originally.
From the States.
Been here 2 years.
2 years, but you're moving soon.
I am moving
Yeah.
back. And I have twins that are 14 and an 8-year-old, all boys.
3 boys, sounds rough.
Yeah. I used to be an athlete.
I mean, you still are an athlete.
I had a 10-year gap in the middle.
Yeah, I guess the one caveat for Sam, because Sam is a great example, you were a D1 athlete.
Yes.
So she does have a pretty intense athletic background. And so for you, though, most of our audience is in Canada. We have like 1 European listener apparently, but most of our audience is in Canada. A D1 athlete is substantially better than any Canadian university athlete probably. Maybe not, I don't know. But it's impressive.
Oh.
So Sam was a D1 athlete. Okay, keep going. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Oh, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's pretty much.
Pretty much it? 10-year
Yeah.
gap? Okay.
Yeah.
So how did you find CrossFit?
Let's see. So I've been doing it for 5 years.
5 years? And 2 years here?
2
give or
years
take?
here. But the first year was not really CrossFit. I was doing it in a person's yard and we had limited equipment. And I brought my toddler. There was a bunch of moms.
That's still CrossFit. That's how
It
CrossFit
definitely
started.
was.
Yeah, that's
it was a
definitely how
lot more
CrossFit started.
cardio and a lot less barbell.
Oh, you didn't have barbells.
Right.
So that's definitely how CrossFit started.
Yes.
Awesome.
So that was my first year and it was 3 days a week. And then I kind of took a gap year.
A gap year?
Where I joined a gym and tried out various classes, but I realized I loved CrossFit way too much. And
Oh, I see. What kind of gym did you join?
it was a regular gym and I tried the HIIT and Pilates and Pyo and yoga and
So why did you
Tabata.
go from the backyard to the regular gym classes?
So that mom moved
Okay.
and I wasn't quite ready to join a gym that didn't have daycare. My
Yeah.
son, my youngest, was
Yeah.
3.
That's fair.
And I was trying to find something that fit in.
Yeah. No, that's a good point. See there, that's something I wouldn't have ever experienced because
Right.
no kids. Yeah, the daycare thing. I know we don't have daycare, and I don't know if we will. There's a whole bunch of legalities with it, but yeah, that's definitely a pitfall. And then that's something that you can join a regular gym that probably has daycare.
Yes.
Yeah.
That
So,
part worked out, but
that part worked out. The classes weren't as good.
no.
Yeah, that's fair.
And I kind of fell off the wagon for a while. So
Yeah.
I guess it's been 3 years of actual
CrossFit. 2 years here, 1 year before.
Yes.
Awesome. And so what kind of like drew you to it in the first place? What made you start working out in someone's backyard?
So this is kind of a complicated question where, let's see, I kept trying to get in shape by myself and it wasn't really working. I just would go for a run because that's what I knew. I was a runner.
Yeah.
And I would go for a run.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be exhausted. I'd kind of take a long break again before
So you go for
I did another.
one run a week, or
Yes.
Yeah.
So I never really got in shape. And then when I mentioned I have twins,
Yeah.
one has special needs with autism.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much from the time he was 2, he was a runner, like a loper and just escape artist. And as he got older, I couldn't catch him. And he was strong and big.
So you had to get fit.
So I wanted to get fit so I could kind of oversee that.
That makes sense. Yeah. I think, sorry to cut you off.
Oh, that's okay.
I think a lot of people, in my experience, have actually joined CrossFit to keep up with their kids in general.
Yes.
So it's a good reason to get on it.
Yeah.
And it helped?
Definitely. And then so all my kids were doing Taekwondo.
Yep.
And I joined in a few classes and discovered just how out of shape I was. And I wanted to kind of be a good or better role model.
Better role model. I love that answer. I think that's really important to emulate for your kids. I think that's probably, I don't have kids, but I think if I did, that would be one of the main reasons I continue to be fit. And it does look like kids sort of emulate their parents. So if the parents aren't working out, the kids aren't working out. I actually read a study a long time ago about like the way a parent will walk, a kid will mimic it. So if a parent kind of has like a waddle or like a less energetic walk, the kid will mimic that, and it's not necessarily a positive. So that's awesome. That's an awesome motivation. Mm-hmm. So, and then you went back to CrossFit, and did they have a daycare, or did you just like make it work?
They kind of had a place you could drop the kids off.
Yeah, I've been to
They didn't
gyms
promise
like that.
Anything.
Yeah, because they can't for insurance reasons.
Right.
Yeah.
So I did leave them there, but a lot of times I went while they were in school.
That's smart.
At that point.
Awesome. Okay, so, and then that was in the States, and you've come to Canada, and so you're in Canada temporarily.
Yeah.
And so did you just like look for a CrossFit gym right away when you realized that you were in Canada, or did it take some time?
Once we found a house, I pretty much looked for a CrossFit gym right away because I needed to get back, or I wanted to make friends.
You want to make friends? And have you made friends?
Just through CrossFit,
through
yes.
CrossFit, yes. Yeah,
Definitely.
Okay, yeah. Oh, have you made, so you made friends at CrossFit, okay.
Yes.
Awesome. And so we're just the closest gym, I assume?
1 mile away.
1 mile away.
First one I came to.
Awesome.
Came to the trial class and loved it. Signed up that day. I was out of shape, but I don't know where I was going.
You're intimidated by your first class, and you were a little bit. There was a lot of running. You're out of shape.
So overall, the first couple months, though, like you focus so much on technique, and I didn't have it, and so that part was a huge wake up and kind of lesson.
But you didn't really get frustrated by it.
I didn't get frustrated, but a lot of the times when like you had rules about no kipping until you could do strict, and my previous gym didn't really have that.
Yeah.
And so I kind of was determined to get to that point because I really wanted to.
I liked it because when that happens, and it's less and less common as I think CrossFit gyms evolve, where more and more gyms have standards of movement. But when you came in, and a lot of times people react, oh, you can't do a strict pull-up, you probably shouldn't kip, and we actually have it where you can't. Right. I think you reacted a positive way. So I think that speaks to a lot to you, because a lot of people will just never come back again.
Oh.
Yeah, but you just took it as a challenge, which is what I like, and which is why you've gotten better, because you saw it as a challenge. And now how many strict pull-ups can you do?
Maybe 5 in a row.
5 in a row strict pull-ups, and you can do kipping chest to bar.
Yes.
And you can do kipping regular pull-up, obviously. And you didn't have a kipping chest to bar when you had a kipping pull-up, correct?
Correct.
Yeah, but now you have both.
Yes.
And people are like, oh, 2 years. It only took 2 years. And it's not like she got like recently. Sam's had the strict pull-ups for a while.
1 year.
1 year, and during a pandemic. So it's like.
Yeah. Well, I got it right before.
Right before, all lucky. Yeah, right before the pandemic. Awesome. Okay, so that's great. So the focus on technique, and that's something like all gyms are different in that regard. But you weren't frustrated by it.
No.
You can be honest. You're like, man, I hated you sometimes.
No, it wasn't frustrating for that. No.
Awesome. I think that's important because I do know a lot of people get frustrated by that. But I think that's where maybe the benefit of your background came into to play. Like
Yeah.
you've probably been coached before as a D1 athlete, and then you respond positively to being told a negative, which is, I think, a big important trait for your success.
And the other thing, you really gave us scales that were perfect for us.
Yeah, that's a skillful thing, I think. And
Yeah.
again, like, I mean, you came to this gym and I've been coaching for like 9 or 10 years when we first met. So I had some experience at doing that. I don't expect everyone to have that experience, but that's awesome. So I guess that brings to the next point. So you've got fitter by kind of scaling appropriately.
Definitely.
Something Kansas wants to really hammer home. We talked about after our podcast. She's like, man, we got to make sure people know that scaling is how people are improving. And so you'd say scaling is how you're improving or helped improvement?
Yeah. So the few times where I went RX where I shouldn't, and I barely got through a couple rounds, I kind of learned my lesson.
Yeah, that's all. Everyone has to do that.
It's better to scale and actually go hard and get a better workout and kind of sweat each workout versus not being able to lift up the dumbbell anymore.
Okay. And so you got better at pull-ups. I think the other thing is your lifting has gotten so much better. I mean, you were determined though. I remember at the start of the pandemic, you had a barbell with like just 2.5s on it to make weight, or was it 5s?
Well, I had the men's 45-pound bar, and then all I was able to get were 25s.
Yeah.
I think that was it for a while. And
but
then,
you had change plates too, didn't you?
Yeah, I got 2.5s and 5s.
Just 2. But did you have multiple sets of 2.5s?
Not initially.
But did you get them eventually?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's what I was trying to get at is instead of like, oh, I can't find 10-pound weights, you just got a bunch of the plates you could find.
Oh, I did order 10 2.5s.
Yeah, you have 10 2.5s and just stacked them onto your bar, which I think again speaks to your determination, which is kind of the discipline and determination is kind of the point I'm trying to make. But I brought you on the agenda. I brought you onto the podcast with an agenda, Sam. Your discipline and determination are something I want people to emulate, but it's always hard. It's always hard to be like, oh, but you can't see it, right? Like you came and you had something, but like you can't do that until you can do this. And a strict pull-up, I think, was a big thing for you.
Right.
So what kind of kept you motivated when like you couldn't do a strict pull-up? And it took a while. It wasn't instant. It's all at the start. It's always hard. Like the first like few months where you don't feel like you're making any progress is always hard on the gymnastics. So what kind of things kept you motivated, if anything, to get that?
Well, going back to when I couldn't really work out regularly.
Yeah.
My time was always spent on the kids. And so to get the hour of me time at the gym, I always felt I needed to put everything into it.
Oh, that's awesome.
And like get the most out of each workout. And just, I don't know why I had certain goals, but I really wanted to get the pull-up kind of from playing at the playground. And when I first started CrossFit, I literally just hung on a bar and couldn't move. Like zero muscle, arm muscle.
But now look at you got guns there. I'm intimidated.
Yeah, so I wanted to be able to do the monkey bars and I wanted to do pull-ups. And those were just certain random goals I made for myself.
Awesome. And I think that's important. So Sam sets some random goals. I don't think they're random. I do think I don't know if we gave you a ton of guidance. I personally, like some gyms will sit you down and do like dedicated goal setting. But we try here to foster an environment where you come up with your own, like we encourage self-sufficiency in that regard. Because if I tell you what your goal is, it's not really your goal. And I like that you made the goals yourself.
Yes.
And I think that's why you stuck with them. Okay, so you got pull-ups, you've improved at lifting. What are some of the, I guess, what are some setbacks you've had in the last like entire time or just maybe recently, like in terms of injury or anything like that?
Well, when I first got here, I injured my wrist and my other shoulder.
Here, right?
Here. Yeah. Kind of going too heavy and didn't have the right form for it. And so those setbacks kind of made me question or rethink just what I should get out of each workout. Yeah. And I realized it's more about the endurance and the cardio sometimes and not to
necessarily
push
the heaviest way possible at all times.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Like most people need to have that like personal experience, and we tell you guys to not do these things, and then very few people get it the first time. But you got it like the second time, which is still impressive. Most people get it like on the third injury, the third time their back slips or something happens, and some people never figure it out.
Yeah.
But just checking with the intended stimulus, that's awesome. And I know that you do stuff outside of the gym, especially now with the pandemic. So do you add anything to your training outside of the hour we give you?
Not CrossFit specific. I found myself just too tired.
That's fair. Yeah,
I tried the rock builder
the
like
extra stuff
twice. Yeah,
no.
But starting in January, I did add some yoga.
I think I've seen a big improvement with that.
And I found this specifically gravity yoga, which is stretching. It's not,
awesome.
It's just pure mobility type work.
Yeah. So guys, Sam is one of the people, and a lot of people can't, like you could always squat to depth, but it was like,
that was questionable.
It was questionable, yeah.
The hips.
And for a lot of people, it's not a mobility restriction. It's a lack of stability or just an inability like to feel comfortable down there. But we couldn't get Sam into the bottom. Like it was rock solid. Your bottom, just barely a round parallel was like your bottom. But when we came back from this most recent lockdown, your squat had improved a ton. And I was curious about that. Because we don't prescribe a ton of mobility because very few people are as rigid as you are, but it's made a huge difference. Have you noticed, I guess you did PR your squat clean and jerk yesterday.
I did, yeah.
And so that was a squat clean?
The last one, 155, was a little questionable. I got almost to parallel, but all the other ones were perfect.
So that's okay. We just gotta keep working on the depth a little bit, and then you'll get squat clean like 165, 175, which is amazing. Like even 155, like that's huge. Like when you first got here, I don't think you were able to do that.
No,
I don't. I was gonna look up your numbers, but then I forgot. Do you remember what you could squat clean? Like
I was always around 100 for 100. All my lifts, so probably
around 100. So 155 pound clean and jerk, which is really impressive. And then we don't have to say it, but it'd probably be useful to say your age because I think that's the most impressive part. Yeah.
So I just turned 41.
Just turned 41. Still improving. 155 pound clean and jerk.
Definitely.
So that's awesome. And so. Great. What do you do, like, I guess with kids? And this is where, like, because I sent all that stuff out about sleep, where I was a little, like, kind of nervous to do it because I don't have kids. So how does your sleep look? Like, how is?
Well, now it looks pretty good because I don't know the right word, but I appreciate being able to get a full night. So when the twins were little, I pretty much didn't sleep through the night for 4 or 5 years.
Oof.
Gabe, especially, my son with autism, would be up sometimes at 3 or 4 in the morning and just be up for an hour or two. And so.
And that probably affected your ability to like work out and whatnot.
Yeah. Well, I pretty much didn't work out, and I pretty much was in a constant state of exhaustion.
And you got through it.
Yeah, I got through that, and then I had another kid. Yeah. So the first 2 years were a bit tricky again, but it was way easier with one.
That makes sense.
And once I got them all sleeping through the night, I pretty much try to go to bed on time. I'm not a morning person like everyone else you've had on here. So
is everyone else here a morning person?
I think so.
Brandon's not a morning person.
Okay.
I don't think Kansas. Becky is a morning person. Yeah, Becky loves the mornings. I'm not quite as a morning person as Becky, but I'm more morning than evening.
Okay.
But yeah, you're not a morning person.
Yeah, like before 8 a.m.
Oh, that's
Which I have to get up somewhere earlier to get the kids to school. But
I think what's interesting or what's important there is there was a period of time where you weren't able to necessarily take care of yourself,
right?
To the best of your ability, but you were able to bounce back from that, and now you're doing pull-ups and clean and jerking 155 pounds.
Yeah.
So I think
and almost always sleeping at least 8 hours.
So I think the lesson there is, and I'm not going to speak for people who just had kids, but maybe Sam can speak to this, but it'll probably get better. Is that what?
It definitely gets better.
Okay, awesome.
The first 2 years are the worst.
The first 2 years.
So
if you're about to have kids, guys, just be prepared for the first couple of years. Awesome. Okay, so you sleep more now, and obviously that's probably been a positive impact on your training.
Yes.
Awesome. Okay, so you sleep a lot. You sleep enough. So about 7-8 hours, what are we looking at?
I'd say 8 hours.
Oh, that's good. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Fit it all in. Awesome. So, but you had to make that a priority once you're able to.
Yes.
Okay. And do you notice a difference if you don't sleep?
Yes. Well, like working out helps me fall asleep. Like I used to kind of have trouble going to bed at night just because I wasn't tired. And now I'm pretty easily falling asleep right away.
Awesome.
If I don't get enough sleep, I am pretty grouchy.
That's fair.
I'm still able to work out, but it might not be the best.
We don't see that here though. So the kids.
Yeah.
And awesome. Okay, so sleep is good, or as good as it can be. I like that I think it's really important that people realize that you might not be able to make it as perfect as possible at any given time, but it can get better, and it will get better.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so how's your nutrition? I don't know I can't remember if you worked with Becky at all or not, or
I didn't work specifically with Becky, but I kind of followed along and listened to others who went to see her.
A lot of people who you made friends with have worked with Becky. Okay, so let's talk about your nutrition then. Maybe like, what was it like? And again, I think this is important because there's probably times where it wasn't perfect due to life. So we're gonna go through your nutrition journey, which I think is more important than almost sleep. Awesome. So what was your nutrition like, say, before you had kids, but you weren't, you were no longer an athlete? Like in that 10-year gap where you were no longer an athlete, didn't have kids.
My gap started right when I got pregnant.
Yeah. Okay, so you before kids, you were just constantly working out?
So I was at university, track athlete, and then I was in the Air Force.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, so
you were in the Air Force?
Yeah, 5 years.
Crazy, I didn't know that.
And so you kind of have to work out. It was fun, and they let you go for your lunch break to the gym type thing. So I worked out regularly, and then I got pregnant. Oh, but my nutrition was terrible.
Was it terrible?
I'll admit that now. I didn't know it at the time.
Let's start there.
Yeah.
You didn't know? Yeah,
I didn't know it at the time. I ate whatever I wanted, and
how old were you?
I was through age 26.
Through age 26. You ate whatever you wanted.
I ate whatever I wanted. It didn't really affect me that I knew of. I couldn't see
You're 26 and younger. You were a D1 athlete. It's not like it's the exception to the rule of nutrition. Usually that is. But,
right.
So what kind of things were you?
Anything I loved. Carbs and pizza, pasta. I didn't eat that many vegetables. I hated salad at the time.
Wow. Don't let Becky hear that. She loves
now
salad.
I'm totally different.
Now it's totally different. Awesome. So let's talk about how we got from pizza to salad.
Okay.
Maybe fill us in a little bit on that.
Yeah. So when I got pregnant, this is kind of where I feel like the twins kind of zapped me of all my nutrition. I tried to work out and I couldn't. Like I'd do 20 minutes on a treadmill and then I'd be passed out for hours afterwards. So I really feel like I didn't have the nutrition in me to kind of support working out, and I completely stopped. I was really morning sick all day long.
I don't know what that's like.
For like 5 months.
Oh, that sounds unpleasant.
And so after that, I just decided I'd not work out until after. But then once I came, I didn't have time to get back on pretty much. And so my nutrition, I pretty much ate whatever I could because the twins had me like up at all times. And then when they were 2, 3, that's when they both had developmental delays. And I learned about nutrition being super important and healthy and kind of a way to change everyone's like gut, immunity, and brain, and all the way we function.
Awesome. And so that's when you started eating better yourself?
So I pretty much, it took me a while to like totally make a change, but I added in a ton of protein. Like we didn't have that. And I started hiding vegetables in their smoothies. And I started making more from scratch and learning to cook. And so that was like a huge
I guess,
change.
if you're like, because you probably didn't have to cook when you were in university. You probably had like a meal plan or something.
Yeah.
And then did you have to cook when you were in the Air Force?
I mean, I kind of did. Like I lived in a house type thing, but we ate out a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
I wasn't a good cook until the twins were little.
And then did you notice a change in your own?
So my energy level went up. I was kind of able to keep up with them better.
But you're also making them like better at running around and stuff by feeding them better.
True.
Yeah. So I would have been sabotaging them, making them feel sleepy all the time.
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah. So I lost, because I had gained 60 pounds with that pregnancy. And so I kind of lost quite a bit eating healthier.
That makes sense.
And then before I had my youngest, and when he was little, I like went super healthy.
Yeah.
So like I didn't eat gluten or dairy or too many carbs, like the bad carbs.
So I don't. Is that super? Is that yeah?
Foods.
So is that super healthy or is that?
Well, I did whole foods.
Yeah, there you
like
go.
Vegetables and meats and that type of thing, and really focused on.
And how did you feel with that?
Great.
Great.
People were jealous. I lost the baby weight like almost instantly.
Yeah. From diet.
Just from diet, because I wasn't working out. Well, I was going on stroller walks. That was about.
I mean, you're pushing something.
Yeah.
And there was 2, right?
There were 2, and
so it's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then, so what does your nutrition look like now?
So now I kind of do what I call gut resets or sugar resets every, 6 months, where I pretty much give up sugar and all processed foods for like a month.
How's that feel when you do that?
Really good.
Yeah.
And it kind of makes sugar taste too sweet.
Yeah, I think
for a while. Yeah. And then I'll go back to once a week, like having whatever I want. And and it kind of creates like this nice.
I think the interesting about the sweetness level, I think that's good for everyone is, and I don't necessarily think you have to do a sugar reset, but if you have like a piece of like 70 to 80% dark chocolate and it tastes really bitter, you're probably eating a lot of sugar and your palate's kind of, not almost desensitized, that's the word I'm looking for, desensitized to it. So that's interesting. Mm-hmm. Do you do anything specific around like eating for working out, or you just eat normally and healthily?
Well, when we switched to Zoom and having noon classes, I started having 2 breakfasts.
Oh, 2 breakfasts.
Yeah, so that was just for the workout, because otherwise I was starving.
Oh, because normally you only have the 1?
Yeah, I'd have breakfast, and then I had the 9:30 gym class, but I couldn't make it to 1 or during the noon class.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a long time to go. Awesome.
And also in December I started Becky's challenge.
Oh, right.
The vegetables and the protein with every meal.
Yeah. And
I did that.
Do you still do that?
I try.
You try? Yeah, I think that's all we ask is people keep trying to do that. Mm-hmm. I think it's interesting. I haven't talked to anyone yet, but I expect to, where like you changed your diet for your kids. Mm-hmm. So I'm assuming your whole family eats kind of the way you do.
Except for my husband.
Except for your husband. Okay.
We're trying. He's willing. Whatever I cook, he'll.
He's real lean though.
Yeah.
He doesn't have any. He's real fit. Doesn't really have any incentive yet. Okay. But it's just interesting because I think some people eat healthy for themselves and then their kids are eating. But I like that your kids eat the way you do. So I think that goes back to you being a good role model. I think that's important.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So we got the sleep. Mm-hmm. We got nutrition. Your training is going pretty well.
Yes.
And then I guess we can talk, because we can talk about training alone for a little bit. So have you noticed the difference between training like in your garage versus training with a group, or?
Kind of. I mean, I had to really give myself the mindset that people were watching me. Like that's kind of the mindset I always had, where like, I had to go hard because someone's watching, and it was never just on me. Yeah. Like I know it should be, but I always had to tell myself someone's watching. And
now you still do that? Yeah, when you're in your garage? Mm-hmm. Because you're planning on continuing to kind of work out in your garage after. So Sam's moving back to the States at the end of this month being June. Mm-hmm. And I think you're planning on just continuing to work out kind of on your own?
Well, I plan to do kind of a hybrid.
Yeah.
Like your programming most of the time, but then my old gym a few days a week.
3 days a week. Oh man, that's a lot. So you're going back to you're moving back to where
I was before.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah. But then you're gonna have to move again, right? You don't know?
I don't know.
Okay.
Not for a while.
Not for a while. That's nice.
Yeah.
It must be exciting to go home and see your family and whatnot.
Yes. I haven't seen them in a long time.
No, yeah, it's crazy to think about, right? Awesome. Okay, so the other thing we can talk about is I know that you have your CrossFit Kids online. You did that, right?
The certificate?
Yeah, the certificate online.
Yeah.
How was that? Because I know that because seminars obviously aren't happening right now, so they put some of them online. Mm-hmm. How was that experience? I'm curious. We haven't talked about it yet.
So. Okay. Well, it was interesting. It was good.
It was good?
So when I first came here, I started to really want a CrossFit Kids type thing, and that's what got me interested in getting certified.
Yeah.
And so when the kids were in Taekwondo, I was kind of stuck for 2 hours in my car. So I read the whole manual.
The CrossFit Kids manual?
The regular level 1.
Because you got your level 1.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you have the CrossFit.
No, I don't have the CrossFit Kids. I just read the manual though.
Oh yeah.
All the manuals are online.
Yeah, they're all free.
Yeah.
All the manuals.
That was probably the best thing I did.
Yeah, all of the CrossFit material that you need for like to go all the way to your level 3 is free online. And it's all useful. So you did your level 1 online.
Yes.
So I don't know why I thought you did your CrossFit 1 online. So you did level 1 online.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so you have that, and you passed the test, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay. So are you planning on, when you move back, coaching or doing your CrossFit Kids or anything like that?
I hope to.
That's
I was
exciting.
thinking, like, I really liked when it was that moms in the yard kind of scenario.
So you're going to start your own CrossFit gym is what you're saying.
Out of my garage, maybe.
That's how, not now anymore. I don't even know if you could start a gym. It depends on the place. I don't know if you could, but like 10, 12, 13, 14, 15 years ago now, that's where most CrossFit gyms started from.
Right.
Just like exactly like that experience you had more recently. People working out in someone's garage and then realizing it didn't fit the garage and then moving, and that brought a host of issues. So a lot of those gyms don't necessarily exist today, the ones that started like that, because you started gymming your garage, you're not really starting a business. It's another podcast.
Yeah.
So that's interesting.
Yeah. Well, I just I want to teach kids.
Yeah.
I want to specifically, or in addition, have like autism type groups with the mothers and the kids doing it together, because it's really hard to find something where you can drop the kid off and trust, or that your kid has to be at a certain functioning level to leave them. And I think the moms or dads could really use that's
really awesome. And you're too bad you can't start that here. You have to move.
Yeah.
We'll kidnap you. I know. So that's awesome. I guess, what's next? We talked about that. We kind of lost track. Do you have any questions for me, I guess? I want to get in the habit of people asking me questions, because sometimes there's maybe some stuff I can...
Yeah.
People don't ask me. I had no idea you wanted to do all that stuff, so...
Yeah.
Do you have any questions? Don't have any questions for me, it's fine.
I don't know. So like, I did want to bring up your team challenge that you did, started pretty much during the pandemic.
Yeah.
That was like a huge...
Yeah, a big benefit.
Motivator.
Yeah, we're gonna bring that back.
Me.
It was just like, people were feeling bad that they weren't able to work out for it, and it was like, it started out really positive, and then it was becoming kind of like, people were like stressing about it.
Right.
So we kind of let it slip. But now that it worked really well when we were in person.
Okay.
So we're gonna bring that back once we're in person. And I think like the last kind of like 3 months of the pandemic have been so hard. I didn't want to put any pressure on people. Like, I think the first lockdown, there's been so many lockdowns, that first lockdown, like, people built habits.
Yeah.
And then the habits stuck for like the majority of our members. But I didn't want people who were struggling with those things to feel like pressured to work out. So what we did is we took the people who looked like they were struggling and we worked with them one-on-one instead of having a group thing. So we built the habits for most of you guys. A lot of you guys crushed it. But then like, you didn't need, like, the team challenge kind of was like that push to get working out on your own, and now everyone's working out on their own. So we were constantly tracking metrics, but then we just started reaching out to people personally, because when it kind of fell by the wayside, you didn't lose any.
I didn't.
Yeah,
stop
and
the accountability.
No, because it was a learned habit. I think that's really important. So it wasn't like 100% our plan on purpose. We were just trying to adapt to it a little bit, but we wanted to get people building those habits.
Yeah.
But then we didn't want. It became like there became a disconnect between people who were struggling and people who weren't struggling, and I didn't want the people who were struggling to feel like they were letting the people who weren't struggling down. So we kind of like just let it kind of like drop off a little bit, and then we're gonna bring it back after you leave, unfortunately.
Well, that's good still.
Yeah, no, it'll come back. So I think it's a good way to integrate new people and build those habits. The other thing is during the first 2 lockdowns, we took new members. During this last lockdown, we made the choice not to take on new members and just focus on doing some other stuff on the back end. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. I mean, the other thing to come out of that was like our team started kind of a group chat.
Yeah.
And I think that helped. And just Mallory, who was newer, we were kind of pushing her to keep going. Accountability, really.
I love it. Yeah. And so I think that's important. It speaks to the community aspect of everything too.
Yeah.
Awesome. I love that. Any other
questions?
No. I have more questions for you. I just want to give you a chance. Okay, so
I can't think.
I think the other thing, just building on what we talked about earlier, I know that you got a rower for your son, your autistic son.
Yeah.
I just want to know, is that working out? Like, is he using it, or because we brought
Not
him in
as
here?
much.
Not as much. We brought him in here and he tried it, and he
Yes.
seemed to.
I mean, when we put him on there, he does great on it, and his coordination has definitely improved, and his
Awesome.
strength. His twin, who's we kind of would not punish him, but all winter long when he was lazy because they did way too many video games, we would kind of send him to the basement and make him row. And so I think it helped having something readily available that they could exercise on.
Awesome. So I guess I don't have any experience with it, obviously, but it sounds like you have some, obviously. So I think maybe there's something that can help more people who have autistic children.
Yeah.
So the rower, like, it helps with the coordination?
Yeah.
And that's something that's.
I mean, he struggled.
Yeah.
With the whole arms.
Yeah, but
and
so
legs
most regular adults struggle with the arms.
Exactly.
Like, you've seen it. I don't know. I can't remember if you struggle with that.
I did.
Yeah. So like it runs in the family. No. But so the arms and legs thing is like, and he's gotten better at it.
Yeah. So I'd kind of stand there, kind of cueing him each stroke.
Coaching him.
Yeah, telling him arms, then legs, straighten arms, like the order that he should do it, and it really helped. And he still doesn't go fast.
That's fine.
But
again, so most adults don't go fast.
Yeah.
You go fast now, but not everyone goes fast. Awesome. So would you, I guess it's really hard to get, but is something you'd maybe recommend or try out first?
If you have the space, I'd recommend it for like older kids on the spectrum. Definitely could benefit from it.
I guess like, we'll just keep it to fitness, but is there anything else you've noticed that has worked? Because I guess like I wasn't planning on going into this, so I didn't do any reading on it whatsoever. So it's kind of a free-flowing conversation. But now that I have you here, and I don't know who's going to listen to this, is there anything else?
Well, so the other thing we struggled with was getting him to ride a bike.
Yeah.
And so I got him just a regular exercise bike to kind of teach him, because he would stop pedaling when on the bicycle. And so we got that to just strengthen his legs and for him to remember to keep pedaling.
Yeah.
And so it worked. And now he loves riding regular bikes all over.
Oh, you guys right? He learned. That's awesome.
Yeah. And now I want to get an assault bike.
You want to get an assault bike?
For him.
For him? No.
And me.
That's mean.
Yeah.
Because you're going to send the other twin down to the road to use the assault bike then.
Yeah.
It's just playing Fortnite. And he has to go, like, oh, you're playing Fortnite, go to the basement, ride the assault bike.
They should integrate video games onto those.
They should, yeah. I don't know. I've seen it, like, sometimes they have, like, the stationary bike. You have to use to pedal the games. Like, you can hook a stationary bike up to a generator and do that. I think people sell kits for that. So if you really want to get into it, you can. But if your kids are too clever, they'll probably figure out a way to, like, trick it.
Okay.
You'll have one cranking the handle, the other, and they'll just take turns or something. Have you noticed that the fitness has a positive impact on him in other aspects? Like the being active is like made it more the condition more manageable or anything like that? Yeah.
Well, it's hard to say exactly what happened the past 3-4 years, but he's had such huge improvements.
Yeah.
It's maybe because they say kids can feed off the parents' like anxiety and stress level, and I've really
worked on
that, and like working out has kind of helped that. But he's made huge improvements. He doesn't run away anymore. His communication's like skyrocketed. He loves going on hour-long walks.
That's crazy.
All over. Yeah.
So that's probably a testament to your work a little bit. You give yourself some credit for that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay. So do you have any other, I guess, like, is there anything else that you've noticed besides maybe the bike and the rower and the nutrition probably?
Yes.
That's helped?
I mean,
you're improving your anxiety and your mood.
Right. His sleep's gotten better for sure. He used to stay up. He had trouble falling asleep. We used to give him melatonin to kind of fall asleep sometimes, and he doesn't need it. He'll go to sleep on his own.
That's awesome.
Early-ish. And
okay, so I think the last thing we'll talk about is the last thing you kind of brought up there, and I think it's something that we haven't really talked about on this podcast in general, but just mood, managing your mood. I think you had, again, your kids seem to be like a great motivator for you to like improve yourself, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, man, I don't have kids. Maybe I'd be better if I had them. Maybe I want them now selfishly as an excuse, but I don't think it works that way.
Probably not.
Probably not. No.
Your world
Like,
kind of revolves around them.
yeah. But it sounds like you made a lot of like improvements because of your kids. So what have you done to improve your mood and your anxiety?
Well, I guess I let go of a lot of guilt.
Okay.
Of like
That's fair.
early on, just having twins and not knowing how to do most things. Like they say you kind of screw up the first kid, and I had two.
I was the first kid. That explains a lot.
Yeah.
I don't think my mom listens to this podcast, but
I was
yeah.
the second kid. Yeah.
So that explains a lot. Is that what you're saying? I see what you're saying.
No, but
I'm assuming your sibling won't listen to this podcast either.
So I know she will.
Oh, she will?
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, so I just kind of just felt guilty about just not like things I didn't know when I was younger and knowing them now, and I kind of had to let go of that and realize that growing and getting better is part of life. And
it's very wise.
Yeah, I don't know. And just
so
realizing that all the things I used to stress about isn't really important also. So like the things you can change or focus on.
Such a cliche, but it's so true.
Yeah. Is what I do. And things I can't control, I kind of don't stress about anymore.
That's hard. That's a hard one.
It is really hard.
That was something that obviously, but it's been challenging for me in the last year and a half, not being able to like
control the gym.
Yeah, and normally like when something goes poorly, my solution always just to like do more, but there was nothing more. Like we had everything. We were doing everything we could, and then so I can sympathize with that, because again, it's just like, oh, I can't control it. I just have to like focus on like control, but like it's hard, and I'm assuming everyone's faced with those sorts of issues to varying degrees, but that cliches.
Right. And I guess with the pandemic, it was for the first time, a lot of people couldn't control things.
Yeah, definitely. I think that for me, like, and there's other instances in my life where I couldn't control things, but then you spend your adult life like creating a situation where you have as much control as you want, and it's kind of taken away. And I don't want to get too much into it, but I definitely think that was why people reacted in so many like different ways, is because you took away their control, and then they just reacted by having tantrums. Awesome. So you know, it's like the sleep, the nutrition, all that stuff. Do you think that helps with the mood? And you said the exercise.
Yeah. Oh, and just finding that hour that's me time.
And that,
like
for you this
dedicating.
year.
Yeah. And not one of the things other moms kept telling me was that you have to focus on yourself to be a better mom. Like
awesome.
Just not be 100% all about the kids all the time.
That makes sense. We'll probably make that the title of this episode. Because I think that's important. I think that was something like, again, it applies to obviously motherhood, but I think it applies to everything else. Like I noticed that if I don't focus on myself, the business doesn't do as well. And so I assume that most things, if you got, what is it? You can't pour from an empty cup is the cliche on that one. So guys, the mood stuff is always cliches, but those are cliches for a reason.
They really are.
Awesome. And I think the good thing about CrossFit is, and I am trying to make this maybe a little bit of an advertisement now, is that you get so many of those things you talked about in 1 hour. You get an hour for yourself, you get exercise, and you get, I think, the social interaction, which can help as well. Take you like, I know like, so Shannon probably doesn't really even want to hear too much about your kids, right?
She's great listening.
She's great listening?
Well,
okay.
We're all good at whining and complaining.
Okay.
And that's the one thing I learned with CrossFit is we all have a common thing to complain about.
It's CrossFit.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
And so like people who don't have kids, they can understand.
Yeah.
Like for her, it's work.
Yeah, everyone has something to complain about.
Yeah.
I think that's also important too, and everyone has different philosophies, and I know a lot of people are really into stoicism, where you don't complain ever.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't think that's necessarily healthy. Like I think that you shouldn't complain all the time, but I don't think it's like, I think it's good to have a group of people who are like willing to listen.
A group of people who like understand and
But don't make it me, guys.
We've learned that lesson.
Yeah, I don't want to hear your problems. Yeah, awesome. Okay, I think that's it. That's great. And do you have anything else you want to add? Anything you want to shut out? What are you going to name your garage gym so people can come check it out in the States?
I did fitness groundwork
fitness groundwork.
Yeah.
Name might be taken. Be careful with
It
that.
might be. I did do an Instagram. You can find me there. but
Awesome. So
I don't
if you
know.
want to send that to me, I think I have it. I'll put it in the notes below if you want to follow along.
Yeah.
And you could also, like, once you get up, you can publish some online content too for people. Because, I mean, this is one of the few, I guess that's kind of an arrogant thing to say, one of the few avenues of fitness I haven't really looked into, but it is one of the few things I haven't really delved into. Like I've done a lot of reading on training kids, but never training kids with special needs. So I think that, I'm assuming, and it could be wrong, there's probably some room for someone to get out there and say
Probably.
some stuff.
Yeah.
And based on this conversation, it seems like it's both needed and practical.
Yeah.
So we'll push you into
He doesn't
doing
always
that too.
cooperate for my Instagram.
Oh, you try and get him on there?
I try. My youngest is more willing, but yeah.
Yeah, awesome. Okay, great. So we're gonna end it there, guys. Thanks for
Okay.
listening. I'll probably film like some sort of outro for this to summarize everything up after I've listened to it again. As always, Becky told me to say this. So if you like the podcast, like, comment, and subscribe, because I haven't been doing that. Like, comment, and subscribe. We're available on YouTube as well as any podcast platform you enjoy on. And if you want to rate the podcast, apparently that's important too.
Okay.
You don't have to. I'm not like doing this for a big audience. I'm doing it for you guys. But if you want, maybe I'll become YouTube famous and I can sell my gym and retire a king.
Well, yeah. And thanks, Thom.
Yeah.
I mean, these 2 years have been huge,
Awesome.
major changes. So thank
That's
you.
great.
And thanks, Breaker fam.
Yeah.
It's been really fun.
Awesome. I love it.
And that concludes the 7th episode of The Breaker Brief. Hopefully you found Sam's story as inspiring as I did. If you enjoyed our episode and like our content, please like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. It would also help us out if you could consider leaving a review on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Next week, we're going to have some commercial breaks for you, so that's something to look forward to. See you guys later. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a great week.